Ladies and gents, welcome to Tsurugi reaction. This is Miscellaneous Miss Kusanagi no Tsurugi. Did I pronounce it right? I don't know. Yeah, another Japanese myth apparently. This was a channel only Sarcastic production. Quick, what's your favorite magic sword? Personally, I like Strombinger. I don't know what that sword is from, but it's kind of a jerk. My historically precedented fave is definitely Grass Cutter, formerly Kusanagi no Tsurugi. So, and that's what we're talking about today. Wait a minute, Grass? This is related to that, huh? I just did a Japanese mythology video, about the sun and how sun just runs away and hides in the cave because the sun's brother apparently is a dick and throws flayed pony or something at one of the at the sun, I guess, but misses the sun or something because I guess sun's brother throws a tantrum and that flayed pony hits one of the servant of the sun, and the servant of the sun dies, and she's like, ah, fuck that, and just runs away and hides in the cave. Every god's basically, panics because without sun, lots of bad things happen. The sun is pretty fucking important thing. So everybody's like, oh man, how are we gonna appease her? So they put some mirror or something like that, so she would see her beauty and just comes out. That didn't work. Then they go to god or party or something, ask us to get naked because apparently sun is gay or something. So that apparently works. She comes out and there you go. And then I guess in the end summary, see Red talks about how sun's brother apparently does something, it finds grass cutter and gives to the sun. I guess this is that story. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Look at that. YouTube algorithm has gotten much better, right? This was just recommended to me and I'm like, why the hell not? But apparently it's recommended for a reason. It's literally the next story after that. So yeah, I wrote quite a few Sarcastic production reaction already. If you haven't seen that, check out the cast, the playlist I created for it. Check out the playlist to like History, Herezu, CGP Grey, Internet Historian, and yeah, let's do this one.
What's more anime classic than a magic sword? Nothing! And much like Excalibur in Western mythology, Japan has its own fancy legendary blade that currently goes by the awesomely innocuous name of Grass Cutter. It's one of the 3 royal regalias of Japan, but it's definitely got the most complicated past, so let's take a minute to talk about it. So Grass Cutter's story begins with the thunder god Susanoo no Mikoto, who has recently been banished from heaven thanks to being a little overenthusiastic in his trolling of his sister Amaterasu. So while he's wandering the earth, he finds a grieving couple who tell him that 7 of their 8 daughters have been eaten by a giant 8-headed snake, the Orochi. So Susan offers to kill the Susan. God damn it. So Susanoo offers to kill the snake in exchange for their
Now his name is Susan.
last remaining daughter, which they're okay with. So Susanoo turns the daughter into a
Wait a minute, what? So they have 8 daughters. 7 of those daughters got killed by this, creature. Fine. Then, this guy here is like, you know what? I'm gonna save you from that, but I'm gonna take your last remaining daughter. And they're like, oh, fine. Why do they want to get rid of the monster if they are going to give their last daughter to him as a just, I guess, trophy or something? Because that's just effed up, isn't it? It feels like they were trying to get rid of their daughters or something.
a comb for temporary safekeeping and sets off to beat up the snake.
Oh, there you go. Hashtag feminism, right? Treating a woman like some kind of item. Oh, so you don't run away, I'm gonna make you into some kind of a comb or something because you're item, nothing else, and put you in one of my pockets.
So he sets up a trap for the snake, 8 barrels of sake specifically. The snake shows up, spots the rice wine, and takes the opportunity to get mad drunk. And when all 8 of its heads pass out, Susanoo leaps out of hiding and cuts off its heads. Then while he's cutting the snake up into manageable pieces, his
Snake came up and got drunk. Okay.
sword hits something hard in the snake's tail, and when he investigates, he finds another sword embedded in it. This sword is named Ama no Murokumo no Tsurugi, or Sword of the Gathering Clouds of Heaven, which is a pretty sweet name appropriate for a pretty sweet sword. Susanoo then gives the sword to Amaterasu as an apology gift. Now the cool thing about Amaterasu, well, one of many cool things, is that supposedly the emperors of Japan can trace their lineage all the way back to her. So Amaterasu has a grandson, Ninigi no Mikoto, who she sends down to rule Japan. As signs of his status, she gives him 3 gifts, each heavily symbolic. A mirror, which represents purity, a jewel representing benevolence, and, you guessed it, the sword Ama no Murokumo no Tsurugi, which in this case is playing the role of courage. Ninigi's great-grandson Jimmu then became the first official emperor of Japan, and the regalias were passed down from generation to generation, each belonging to the reigning emperor at any given time. Now the next major event in the sword's history is when it falls into the hands of Prince Yamato, the clever but overconfident son of Emperor Keiko. Now Yamato had previously been exiled due to some fratricidal shenanigans, but his aunt, the high priestess of Amaterasu, takes pity on the kid for his newfound dangerous situation and loans him the sacred sword in the hopes that it'll help him survive. This comes in handy later when a local warlord invites Prince Yamato on a friendly hunting expedition
All of that. Isn't that sword and things supposed to go to the, whoever's emperor at the time? How did the priestess had the power to give that away? Understand, he's still, in the same lineage of emperors, but I guess he was exiled by now. So why isn't the new emperor like, oh, this is mine? Because by now it should have been the symbol of becoming emperor. Like, you have to have this sword to become emperor or something.
And then takes the opportunity to set the open field on fire, hoping to kill Yamato in what looks like an accident. Yamato sees he's trapped by the fire and starts cutting the grass around him to remove the fuel, and that's when he finds out the sword can control the wind. So using his trusty fire starters and his newly discovered magic sword,
This is literally like that, Skyrim type shouts, right? Just swing the sword and there's the Fusroda comes out. Everybody, literally flies around.
Prince Yamato blows fire back at the would-be assassins, assassinating them instead. This is when the sword gets its name Grasscutter. The last important bit of Grasscutter's story is when Prince Yamato fails to take it with him when he goes to fight a giant monster and is predictably killed. Grasscutter is then moved to the Atsuta Shrine for safekeeping, where it supposedly remains to this day. And it's not a katana. Just want to stress.
Wait a minute, so it's supposed to be there right now? Oh, that is something, right? Like, what did they put there? Some kind of a sword that is supposed to be this sword or something from the ancient time? I like when some old mythology and object like that supposedly survives today and it's somewhere in the museum. I mean, do they let people see that in some kind of, is it some kind of a museum, or it's just in there nobody can see it? Is it the same sword? Because even if it's not the same sword, how long history does the sword have? I don't know how else to say this. Like, did literally the start where the emperors began, when Japan's empire began, from the start, wherever the probably myth started, somebody had the sword and they literally passed down to every emperor, and that is that sword. It's still pretty significant if that's the case, if that's the kind of history the sword has. Damn.
Press that. Katanas only started showing up around 1100 AD. Grasscutter was already a thing when the first emperor took power nearly 2,000 years earlier. Not every Japanese sword is a katana. God damn it, anime. So yeah.
Wait a minute, so if that sword, even though I highly doubt it, if that sword was from the first emperor of Japan, that sword must be what? 2,000-3,000 year old? And it's still there in wherever under protection or at the museum or something. Damn, that would be awesome. You might have noticed that the mirror jewel sword artifact combo shows up a lot in Japanese media. Yu Yu Hakusho did that way back in season 1. I cannot relate to any of this, Japanese animation TV show and anything like that, because I've never watched any of them. I think when I was a kid, I used to see that, what is that, that anime is way too famous, the hat one, somewhat pirate type of thing. I don't know. I remember as a kid watching that. Yeah, it's like how swords that grant titles are strongly embedded in Western media. Because of King Arthur's whole sword in the stone thing. Yeah, it just seems like a natural sort of magic item to write. I mean, yeah, but that is way too famous, right? Sword in the stone comes out a lot. In lots of game as an Easter egg. Lots of TV show and movies features something like that. That has become really famous thing. Hector's sword is another weapon that supposedly had a complicated life. The Paladin Roland's sword. Durandal is supposed to be the same sword, but considering Hector's sword would have been made pre-Iron Age, there's no way it would have held up nearly as well as it was supposed to. More importantly, it was supposed to contain various sacraments that wouldn't have existed then. Troy happened 1,000 years before the Virgin Mary was born. There's no way a chunk of her raiment found its way back in time into that sword. Yeah, that was off topic. Yeah, okay, so there you go. The sword that son's brother. I don't know why I'm constantly forgetting the name. I don't know why I have a hard time remembering the name, but yeah. The sword the son's brother gave back to the son, somehow in a circle of life, because son is the one who gave all the grandchildren of hers that sword, as some kind of a token or something, whatever, courage symbol or something. And in the end, son's brother gave back to her. So there you go, full circle of life. Alright, people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the reaction, the link in the description, check out the cards, please check out the end cards, and I'll see you next time.